Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into something that's really changing the game in hotel operations. We're talking about using AI, artificial intelligence, to go beyond just listening to our guests and to start really understanding them on a deep strategic level. As a hotel AI expert, I'm really excited to be here with all of you from the Europe Hotel School. My goal for us today is simple: to share some practical, real-world knowledge that you can actually use in your careers. This industry is always moving, always changing, and I want to help you grow right along with it. So, let's get started. All right, so let's jump right in. We need to start by talking about a huge challenge, and I mean a challenge that every single one of you is going to face, no matter where your career takes you, and that is the absolute flood of guest feedback. I mean, that's the big question, right? We live in this 24/7 world where feedback never, ever stops. You've got comments, reviews, DMs, it's just this constant stream. So how on earth are you supposed to keep up with all of it and make sure every single guest feels like their voice was heard? Just think about all the places this feedback comes from. You've got TripAdvisor, you've got Booking.com, your own internal surveys, then there's Instagram, Facebook, the list just goes on and on. Trying to have a team manually read and sort through all of that, it's not just inefficient, it's pretty much impossible. You really do feel like you're drowning in data. Okay, if the problem is this massive overload of data, then the solution has to be something that can handle that scale. And that's exactly where AI comes in. You can think of it as your own smart, tireless interpreter that can make sense of all that guest feedback. Let's break down what we're really talking about here. The core technology is called sentiment analysis. And it's basically what it sounds like. We're teaching a computer how to read a comment and understand the emotion behind it. It uses something called natural language processing, or NLP for short, to figure out, was this guest happy, unhappy, or just neutral? It's about getting past just the words and understanding the actual feeling. So you might be wondering, how does it actually do that? Well, it's a pretty straightforward three-step dance. First, the AI automatically scans everything, all those sources we talked about. Second, it deciphers the language, using that NLP magic to figure out the context and the emotional vibe. And then third, it categorizes it all, neatly sorting everything into positive, negative, or neutral piles. And just like that, you get a bird's eye view of how your guests are feeling. Okay, so the tech is pretty cool, right? But the analysis itself isn't the point. The real power is in what it lets you do with that information. So let's talk about how we turn all this data into actual smart decisions. You know, the insights you get can be total game changers, and they can happen fast. Imagine getting an alert for a bad review the second it's posted so you can respond before it blows up. Or think about this. What if the AI spots a pattern? Maybe 10 people this week mentioned the check-in was slow. Boom. You don't have to guess anymore. You know you have a problem with your process. And hey, it's not all bad news. It also tells you what you're nailing so you can double down on what works. At the end of the day, it's all about making decisions based on real data, not just a gut feeling. And a chart like this just makes it all so clear, doesn't it? Picture getting a report like this on your desk every month. You can see right away, wow, our staff friendliness is off the charts and our check-in is super fast. Great job, team. But you also see that big red bar for room noise. That's not just a hunch anymore. It's a clear signal telling you exactly where to focus your attention. It's strategy in a snapshot. But of course, technology can't fix a noisy room by itself. People do. This data is useless without your teams on the ground. Your front office, housekeeping, engineering, they're absolutely essential. They're the ones who take these insights and turn them into action. Maybe it means retraining staff, or changing a maintenance schedule, or rethinking how you assign rooms. That's where the magic really happens. And that brings me to a really, really important point. AI is an amazing tool, but it is not, and I repeat, not a replacement for human expertise. The best way to think about it is as a partnership. So let's look at what each partner brings to the table. The AI? It's a beast when it comes to speed and scale. It can sift through thousands of reviews in seconds and spot patterns that no human ever could. But humans, we bring the context. We get the nuance, the sarcasm, all the subtle stuff that machines just don't understand yet. And here's a perfect example of why that human touch is so crucial. A guest leaves a review saying their tiny room was just cozy. The AI might see the word cozy and mark it down as positive feedback. But you and I, we immediately hear the sarcasm, right? We know that guest is actually complaining the room was way too small. That's why you always need a human to validate the data and make sure you're getting the real story. Okay, so let's pull all of this together. Why is this so important for you as you get ready to become leaders in this industry? Well, it's pretty simple. This is how you gain a strategic advantage. Look, this isn't just some fancy new trend that'll be gone next year. This is becoming a core skill for any modern hospitality professional. Top schools, like your own, and experts across the industry all agree. Knowing how to interpret this feedback is absolutely strategic. If you can master this, it will set you apart, period. Because at the end of the day, that's the real goal here. You're moving away from being reactive, just constantly fighting fires, and becoming proactive. You're creating a cycle of constant improvement. When you understand what your guests are feeling on a massive scale, you can start to anticipate their needs, fix problems before they become widespread, and just keep making the guest experience better and better. And most importantly, you make your guests feel truly heard. So I'll leave you with this to think about. That collective voice of all your guests, that is the single most valuable asset you have. The big challenge, but also the incredible opportunity for your generation of leaders, is to figure out how to unlock its full power. So the question is, how are you going to turn the voice of the guest into your hotel's greatest strength?